Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fun off-roading in Toyotas is out on the Rubicon, then this is the podcast for you. Hey, everybody, I'm Jimmy Jett, and I'm solo introing the podcast today. We did a fun interview with a new friend of ours out on the Rubicon, and we just skipped over the housekeeping stuff and figured we'd do that later, and kind of sort of forgot about it. And so here I am catching up, covering our rear end so that we have a very basic intro for you guys today. And I'll make it quite brief because we had a fun interview, like I was saying. Let's see, just a few things to discuss. This month's giveaway on iRate 4x4, the giveaway tier of the Snail Squad, is 2 Christmas presents. Tyler and I are going to give out a Christmas present each to a lucky winner. We're going to choose 2 winners, and somebody's going to get a gift from Tyler, and somebody's going to get a gift from myself. And we have sort of fun competition between Tyler and I to see who gives the better gifts. And I'll let you guys know, I hope you get in on this, and I hope you pray that you win and get me as the gift giver this year, even though Tyler won last year. I sort of have an ace up my sleeve this year. I don't want to give any of it away, but I am going to destroy Tyler this year in the gift giving contest. So that said, get in for the gift. Hopefully you win, and hopefully you're going to get this spectacular item or items that I am going to be giving away. To do that, you go over on iRate 4x4, go down to watch, listen, and discuss section, and sign up for the giveaway tier there. You can sign up monthly for $10, or you can sign up annually, and it'll just bill us once, and then you'll be in for the rest of the year, from continuing on till next year. Let's see, we've got reviews always going on. Reviews are probably the number one best way to help. Nope. Scratch that. The number 2 best way to help grow the podcast. Reviews help boost the analytics, get it shown to people when they're looking at the podcast in podcast forms and on their apps. It gets put into people's faces because if they're searching for off-roading and they find, oh, look, this one has a lot of reviews, let's put it in front of those people. It helps boost us. The number 1 way to help support the podcast that way is just telling your friends. If you have friends out there that like listening to podcasts, just share it with them. Peer feedback is probably the best way to help grow the podcast. Number 2, reviews. And in regards to reviews, we do entice you a little bit to leave us a review. Every 50 reviews, we give away a swag pack. We're coming up pretty quick here on, I believe, 600 reviews, or is it 650? I don't recall what it is at the moment, but we're coming up pretty quick on those. And once we hit to 750 reviews, we're giving away a set of tires from Yokohama Tire. Big thanks to Yokohama for coming on and donating a set of tires to a lucky winner. You have your choice of tires, pretty much anything that's DOT approved, and a 19-inch rim or smaller. They're not allowing 20s. That said, I think we only have one other thing, which is I just want to push out there because we love hearing back from you guys, and that is our phone number. It's area code 916-345-4744. Feel free to call at any time and let us know about things that are going on in your neck of the woods. You feel free to use it as a promotional way to tell us about something that's happening out where you are that we really have no idea. We see the podcast as really a global information database, and you can use it as sort of a small marketing avenue for yourself. So feel free to call in, promote something that you've got going. Feel free to call in about questions, and we'll be happy to answer them best we can. And, feel free to call in and correct us if, we said something wrong at some point. So it's always good to get corrected every once in a while. Just, do it in a polite, nice way. And, we play all those on the air all the time. So it's always fun for us to hear your guys' voice. And, let's be honest, it's always fun to hear your voice played on the radio as well. In the past, we have had some youngsters call in and leave some dad jokes. So that was pretty rad as well. Well, that's all I'm going to say for the housekeeping things right now. Let's get over and jump into the main topic, our introduction to the Rubicon, because we took a green person from another country out onto the Rubicon, something that has completely blew his mind, and we wanted to sit down with him and discuss it and let him verbally dump how amazing it was to actually achieve one of his life goals and go out on the Rubicon and go wheeling. And he actually got to drive Tyler's 4Runner on a good chunk of it. And so that was another jaw-dropping experience for him as well. So let's take a quick break. Let's hear from Brian, and then we'll hear about how wonderful the Rubicon is.
Are you looking for superior suspension for your Toyota off-road vehicle? At 4 Wheel Underground, we take every effort to engineer tight tolerances and proper material thicknesses in order to achieve a durable suspension with bitchin' fitment. Check out our quality kits with USA manufacturing at 4wheelunderground.com.
Oh, welcome back, ladies, gentle ladies, kiddos, the wild bears,
Kiwis,
the Kiwis, all the Kiwis out there.
Heyo.
We're out here recording at a pretty awesome spot. Where are we, Jimmy?
Observation Point.
Mm-hmm.
We've done Rubicon Trail.
We've done a couple of recordings now out here on the trail.
We have.
And they always turn out spectacular.
They're the best episodes ever.
Yeah. Right. I still remember when we did the Rubicon history episodes, when we were sitting up by the entry up at Loon Lake, and people were like, wait, you guys were actually on the trail. I could hear buggies and cars going by you.
Yeah.
And V8s.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Anyways, we're here. We just ran the trail all day today. Absolutely gorgeous day. What time is it?
It's 3:50.
3:50. That was quick.
Yeah, about 8 hours.
Yeah, and we had a super novice driving half the time too, slowing us down.
Kind of.
So,
and we stopped at Soup Bowl, played around a little.
Uh-huh.
We also went and saw the trench.
Yep.
We stopped at Rubicon Springs for a little while, and now we're sitting here.
Yeah, sitting at observation, 3:50. Sun is... Yeah, we probably got 2 hours before it's down over there, but absolutely gorgeous day. We started the day with snow.
Yeah.
And ending the day with clear skies, a bright sun.
It was snowing this morning, and now it's sunny, but there's still snow on the mountain peaks, which is phenomenal.
That's pretty cool. Why are we out here, though? We kind of made a special trip. It's a Wednesday, hump day.
Yeah.
Midweek wheeling. We had the whole trail to ourselves, but why are we out here, man?
Because we love wheeling during the weekday.
It's true. And we can.
Yeah. No, the real reason is we have an out-of-towner with us. We have now a new friend, new friend of the podcast, a new friend to us. But somebody neither of us knew before the day started.
Yeah.
Our friends,
neither of us knew before 6 a.m. today.
Yeah. Our friend CJ with the CJ must be watching the forums or something and said, hey, there's this guy from another country here that wants to go do some off-roading. Could any of you guys take him off-roading?
Uh-huh.
And you and I stepped up.
Hell yeah.
To take a Kiwi.
Uh-huh.
Out on the trail, out on the Rubicon, blasted it the whole way through. So, Matt, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Howdy. Let's get rowdy. Hey, guys. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Best intro ever.
It's a pleasure to be here.
That's fantastic.
Is that what you guys say over here? Howdy?
That's totally, yeah.
I'm just embracing the American spirit, you know?
Perfect.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we wanted to sit down with you, Matt. We wanted to get your ideas of rock crawling, off-roading, Rubicon, kind of get your overview of the trail. We'll talk a little bit about the way, but I think let's start with tell us a little bit why you're in the States. Like, why are you here?
Yeah, so I'm just over here on a little 1-month excursion. Back home, I'm a medical student in New Zealand, and I just thought, hey, I'd love to see how Americans sort of off-road over here, and boy, did I get more than I expected. This is a stunning place with great people, and the way they wheel is just, it's insane. So it's a privilege to be here.
Yeah, that's that. Thank you, and you're welcome. But, so tell us, what do you drive at home? What do you have?
So back home, I've got a Nissan Safari. It's a TD42, so that's a turbo diesel 4.2 liter engine. It's on 35s with sort of a lifted leaf springs all around. So it's kind of an old school rig. It's a 1984. So it's a bit of an older one, but it goes pretty well. And I just mostly do a bit of beach driving, sometimes in the bush. It's pretty rough and ready, but it does the job.
Tyler likes to play in the bush.
Steady on.
Always down for bush play.
What is a Safari?
Yeah.
Is it a
Safari.
What is that?
I'm not sure what you guys would call it. I mean, it's a SUV technically.
Okay.
Is it like the 4Runner here?
Yeah, like the 4Runner, a bit bigger. It's the long wheelbase version.
More like a Land Cruiser.
Yeah, kind of like a Land Cruiser.
Okay.
So they originally came out with the SD33. That's the sort of older Nissan motor, kind of a forklift motor. But then it had the TD42 swapped into it. So it's also a forklift motor, but a bit newer.
Oh, there's a 4.2 liter forklift motor?
Yeah.
Turbo diesel?
That's a big boy.
Can you get that, please?
I know, right? Let's get that at the warehouse and do some racing.
Race to the other warehouses.
Yeah.
My forklift is faster than yours.
Right?
All right, cool. When we were talking a little bit on the trail that rules and you have a ton of restrictions and everything over there in New Zealand. We've have a friend of ours that's from that other place that we don't like to talk about that's fairly close to you. And he said the same sort of thing. So you can't really go any larger than a 35 or how's that work?
So anything technically over 5% in New Zealand from stock wheelbase, like stock wheel size, is actually a no-go. So you got to get 5%. I know. So
oh my God.
That's like a 32-inch tire or something for the Safari. So technically you've got to get engineering or get it certified. So it's quite a bit of a rigmarole to get those all sorted. So you can't be wheeling out here with Tyler's big offset and custom axles and everything.
You can't have tires sticking all the way on the outside of your body.
Definitely not. I think they'd have a fit back home in New Zealand. So definitely a no-go.
One of my longtime dreams was to take Bobcat around the world. And I was quite ignorant when I thought of that, because I realized now that you take it somewhere and the police would be like, hey, you can't drive that here. I'm like, why not? It's legal where I'm from.
Mate, I tell you what, if you pulled up in New Zealand with that thing, they'd be all over you like a red hot rash. Like, be just like that. You'd be impounded, crushed, you wouldn't be seeing that thing again.
Yeah, that's sad. I'll have to put it on 35s then.
That's you'll have to downsize. It's a shame, but
Well, I don't know. What did your truck come with stock?
I think 30s, 29s.
29s or 30s? So you're going to be stuck with 30, 31?
Yeah. Dang it. It would look so ridiculous. I'd be on the 31 run.
I know, right?
There's a club with like rigs similar to Tyler's built, and they do the Rubicon on 31-inch tires.
Normally they're all on 40s, 42, 44s, and they all take off their big tires, put 31-inch like trailer tires or something, and then just come out and have a good time.
Can you imagine?
That's a risky game to play. I feel like you'd be hitting a lot of diffs, but
they do.
100%. Cool. Well, let's talk about, we met up at Fresh Pond, all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
We grabbed some snacks. We drove up into the up Ice House Road from there into the mountains. Did you? I know we've all been to New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
You live there. You've been there a few times.
I've been there a few times.
Are there mountains like the Sierras in New Zealand? Would you say that?
There are, but it's not the sort of place you go four-wheel driving. It's sort of more a place you go for a hike. Like the way you have trails into the mountains, it's very accessible here, and that's really great. But in New Zealand, it's we've got the Southern Alps, which would be the closest to it, but it's apart from a few mountain passes, it's more for hiking and sort of alpine exploration.
Right. My recollection of how the mountains were there is they were extremely steep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very steep. These are actually probably a bit more spread out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They had like crevasses or gullies that, are just extremely steep, and they're not nearly as gradual or graded as kind of the Sierras kind of seem to be.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, somewhat different in that regard.
You were on the South Island when you went,
I only went to the South Island, yeah.
So were you in Queenstown?
I went there, yeah.
Yeah. So that's like the Remarkables, right? Right outside Queenstown. It's a lake right out on the city, and then on the immediate other side of the lake, the mountains just shoot up.
Yep,
right out the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think, Matt, about driving up into the mountains like that. Is that something that you've experienced before, or is that new? Something?
Yeah, I must say it's a pretty new experience. All this sort of rock climbing, very different. I think typically back home we do a lot of beach driving, a lot of soft sand, mud in the sort of bush area. But no, rock climbing with sort of reduction gears is a whole new kettle of fish for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were talking on the way up here,
Okay.
and I was like, what kind of off-roading have you done before? He goes, mud, sand. And I was like, oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I really got thrown in the deep end today. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So we hit the spillway, we aired down, we started driving in. First thing that we come to is Gatekeeper. What was your thoughts when we drove up to Gatekeeper? Were you like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
I was actually slightly intimidated, to be honest. It was like seriously, like I said before, nothing like I've ever done before. And then when Tyler was just gunning it straight, I was like, all right, put your seatbelt on, hold on to your hats, boys, we're going. So
Yeah.
I was pretty stoked, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always a fun one for somebody that's never ever been on the trail. And it's not really even, now that you've experienced literally the whole trail for the most part, from here out, it's a bumpy fire road and then a few small obstacles. So a lot of people consider this technically the end of the trail, even though I don't know if it technically is. But if you've never gone on the trail before and you get to Gatekeeper, you're amazed at how difficult that seems. But then you realize after doing the trail, you go, that wasn't even that bad.
It just gets better.
Yeah, for real. But after Gatekeeper, we go up Snail Hill. We've deemed a trail that obstacle there. I don't know if he told you that.
Yeah, told him all about Snail Hill.
The next thing you come to is the Granite Bowl, which is always an eye opener. Have you ever seen something like that?
No, that was definitely new as well. The way it just opened up and there was, all that rock. It was truly a sight to behold. And we've been blessed with great weather today. So, it was really something to see.
Yeah, to see the Granite Bowl and snowing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's fun. Not a whole lot of people get to see the Granite Bowl in snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was there was a slight dusting, for a good chunk of the day. There was, one point, I think it was, that little ledge you dropped down right after Snail Hill to get onto the top of the Granite Bowl.
Yep.
When your rear end of Kermit came down and you started accelerating away, I saw your exhaust pushing snow away from the rocks. And I was like, oh, dang, it's not melting when it hits the ground.
Yeah,
it's
sticking
staying
now,
there.
yeah.
Like, we need to be careful about what we're going to be doing today because it's going to get icy and we might not be able to get out.
And there was a couple spots where that was we're like, well, let's just go to Glenn's office and we'll kind of make a decision from there. If we take a look at Indian Trail, and it's still snowy or icy, no go. We're going to turn around and head back out.
Yeah.
And I was like, granite has a lot of traction until you get a little bit of cold water on it.
Yeah.
And as soon as you slip a tire in the snow, it creates this little sheet of ice under your tire, between your tire and the granite. And as soon as I was explaining that to Matt, we hit that little ledge going up to Walker where I kept getting sideways.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, this is what happens when you just start
an
slipping.
obstacle that we've never had problems on before.
Yeah.
Was throwing us sideways and crooked and all over the place. And you did a different line than you've probably ever done before because you needed to try to get traction. So you went high driver to get up and around that.
I was trying to go high driver and it kept turning me. I actually ended up going high kind of passenger.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I just gunned it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then I went straight up, but I learned from what you were doing. I'm like, okay, that's, the joys of going second is now I know how to attack that obstacle. Yeah. So I think a lot of the trail up throughout from the Granite Bowl to a little sluice is
and Soup Bowl.
Soup Bowl.
Yeah.
Soup Bowl.
What was your thoughts about Soup Bowl, Matt?
Well, I just saw Jimmy going for it. And I was just staring at it. Jimmy was spinning wheels. And I thought, far out. He's giving it the berries. But yeah, it was pretty hectic. And then when we got in the Forerunner, man, the extra sort of wheel track, it just sort of shimmied up there. It looked great.
Yeah, I was denied.
You were denied today on
Soup Bowl denied me. It's not very often that Soup Bowl denies me, but
I think the last 2 times we've been here, I got denied and you walked right up.
Yeah.
And then today.
And it was soupy. There was water in the divide at the top and there was snow.
There was snow all over Soup Bowl.
All over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that point, we decided that we didn't know how far we were going to go. So we were taking our time. And we went out to see the trench.
Yeah.
That's dug.
Yeah.
Which is just incredible to see what people can do with landscapes at solid rock.
Yeah, blue granite. Yeah, yeah. You've been up to China Wall, right? In that area outside of no, further up than Auburn. It's like up near Yuba Gap.
I don't think so. I probably have.
Oh,
but-
the railroad tunnels.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's China Wall essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I love snowboarding out there.
Oh, that's
those.
right. You
Mhm.
did tell me about
Yeah.
that. But there's literally, so when they were building the cross country road,
yeah.
the Transcontinental Railroad, there was a race, right, to see who could lay down the most track and get across the country the furthest. And the West Coast side hit a big obstacle called the Sierra Nevadas. And trying to get tracks over, through, around the Sierra Nevadas.
Big job.
Big job. So what they ended up doing was tunneling through a big chunk of the passes. And it's like tunneling through blue granite. And these are big tunnels to put a train through.
Yeah.
And they said they made progress of like 3 inches a day, maybe.
Far
something
out.
like that. It
That's
was crazy.
crazy.
It was nuts. So
They didn't win.
no, they didn't win. We
Yeah,
lost.
Needless to say.
Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, just seeing what the vehicles can do on Soup Bowl. Is it like it's no other, right? I mean, where we're like, oh, we're climbing this wall and we're going to go past our tipping point till we're leaning on our rock sliders to prevent us from falling, but we're going to continue to try to go forward.
It was a very committing drive. When I was watching it, I was thinking, far out. Are they going to roll? But hey, I mean, you just rest on that rock slider, pivot around, and you guys did great. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at that, I mean, would you have, like, because I don't know if we mentioned, like, driving up to it that was Soup Bowl and that was an obstacle. Looking at it, would you have thought that was an obstacle or anything? Or?
Truth be told, I would have thought you just keep going past it. You know,
Would you?
like, when I saw Tyler going for it, I thought, mate, I think he's got a bit lost off the track. But no, he gave it a really hot go. But yeah, no, gnarly obstacle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that one, it's fun. That's a fun little spot. And then we continue on to Little Sluice, which Tyler got twisted up on those obstacles. That was pretty gnarly to see the 4-wheel underground suspension just like completely drooped out in sections. And he made it through clean. It was a good run.
We had a wager going into it. I was like, how many times are my shock mounts going to get hung up?
Yeah.
And Jimmy goes, none. You're going to ace this or something, whatever he said. And I was like, thanks for the vote of confidence, man. And then I went in, didn't get hung up at all.
See, I told you.
It was it did great. I was very impressed. Last time I went through Little Sluice, because I always go up and take that shelf line, right?
Yeah.
So last time I went through Little Sluice was on the glue tread trip, where I almost rolled the 4Runner. And so I was kind of like, well, we'll see how the wider axles do with keeping me from rolling at that spot. And it just kind of went through and everything. Yeah, the whole suspension just got completely twisted and articulated out. And it was pretty rad.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was bad when I was trying to climb up the rocks to watch and I kept slipping over. You know?
Yeah.
So when the truck was doing all that far out.
Yeah.
We still had a fair amount of snow on those rocks right there,
Yeah.
too. Yeah, so that was fun. I went up a Little Sluice as well.
You kind of hit the line I hit with the glue tread trip and started looking like you were going to roll. And I was like, you want me to jump on your slider real quick? You're like, no, I'll just back up.
I was lifting a tire.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. I was pretty off camber there, and I was trying to go forward a little bit, and I had the traction to move forward, but I kept pulling the front tire farther and farther off the ground. Yeah, that was a fun little spot for sure. And then we wheeled on and we got to Glenn's office, and the sun was coming out.
Yeah, the rock was drying up.
The rock was drying up. The snow had been stopped for a short period of time.
So we kind of sat there at Glenn's office for a little bit, and Matt, we told you about Glenn, who gets to work out here during the summers.
World famous, yeah. Thanks, Glenn, for all you do. Appreciate you.
And then, had a little bite to eat there, and we're like, this rock isn't really wet at all anymore. This is just another day on the Rubicon. Like, screw it. Let's go through the trail now. And it was only 10:30 at that time.
Yeah, let's continue on. Let's and I think we were all thinking like, okay, we're going to go down Indian Trail, but if we get to a point where it's icy, we're going to stop and we're going to turn around. Because if it's icy here, it'll probably be icy on Cadillac, and we don't want to get stuck in the bowl or at Rubicon Springs for the most part and not be able to get out either way. So
there's worse places to get stuck at.
There definitely is, but I think I'm the only one that brought a tent and a sleeping bag.
It's true.
Having said that, we all agreed we're going to cozy up with Jimmy.
Yes.
Get real snug.
If it's life threatening, I'm okay with it. No homo.
There you go. It's not gay if you say no homo.
Yeah.
So they just don't make eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So going down Indian Trail was kind of where at the point I think where I was finally like, oh, hey, I have an inclinometer in here now.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And so we turned that on and started playing and stopping at little certain points there. What were you thinking, Matt, about kind of the angles that we were getting at in the rig?
Well, I was pretty surprised at how stable it felt. Like at some points we were getting, 30 degrees?
30.
You said 42 at one point.
At one point we got pretty high.
I think at one point I went down in that hole and we got to 37 and 38.
Really?
Yeah. And that was as high as we got. And I was like, I think I could get to 42 before tip.
Maybe that's I was like, no, 45.
Go 45, try it.
Yeah, I was definitely seizing up a little bit in the passenger seat. I was thinking, oh, far out, how much more are we going to go? But no, the rig loved it, to be fair. And yeah, no issues really. Just kind of putted it along.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one time you're quite twisted up and leaning, and the suspension was leaning, and you're like, the body's totally level.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
There was a couple times.
It's funny because your axles and everything are all twisted up, but your inclinometer is probably saying 0.
It was like, I think there was one point where we're coming through and Matt was driving and he looks out the window and he goes, that tire's way down there. And then we looked at the inclinometer, it was like at 5 degrees off or something. I was like, that's so cool. It just keeps the cab level.
Yeah. So we drove down Indian Trail and got to the split off at the base of Old Sluice, and we walked up to check it out. And actually, right now, it doesn't look that bad.
No, it doesn't. It looks like a couple of the big rocks at the end got kind of pushed down towards the end, bottom further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The squeeze rock or window widow maker, or whatever we want to call it, is still a threat. But the bigger rocks down below, the ones that you had problems on a few years ago, are totally moved around, and it doesn't look too shabby. Yeah. And then after that, you let Matt jump in the driver's seat of Kermit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I was just like, do you want to drive it all? I mean, you came all this way. You have an off-road rig at home and you do very different style of off-roading. And I was like, it would be I think a pretty cool eye-opener to see what you thought about driving in rock crawling rather than just being a passenger and getting tossed around in the rig all the time. So he essentially looked at me and was like, hell yes, I do.
Well, there was that slight moment of hesitation, wasn't there? I was like, oh, far out. Like, this is a big boy's rig. Like, do I really want to give this a go? But yeah, then I went for it, and I'm very grateful I had the opportunity. It was awesome.
Yeah.
At some point, we were talking on the radio, and Tyler was out sort of guiding, and I think I said to you, there's a fine line when you need to give it a little bit more gas or you push in the clutch. And you were like, at first I was super frustrated with how slow we're going in all these gears, and I was like, yeah, there's 20 of them.
Definitely an adjustment. I mean, back home, usually just select third and give it the jandle, we call it back, give it the throttle.
Yeah.
Definitely a bit of an adjustment with all these gears and reduction gears, and a bit to get my head around.
Yeah, the torque and the gearing and just kind of letting the engine and the drivetrain do the work for you. So you just kind of find traction and steer. Was a fun to kind of watch you figure that out throughout the day.
Yeah, it took a while. I feel like I'm still getting there, but it's amazing the control it gives you. I mean, it's perfect for this sort of terrain with the sort of slippery rock, and definitely very useful.
Yeah, it's weird how there's a game you play with the speed of your engine, the tire speed, and the control that you want to continue.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep if you are just rolling along and you bump into a rock, you want to keep those RPMs a little bit higher so that you'll continue on instead of stalling out. But you also need to keep that engine speed going so that you aren't stalling. But you also need to, what am I trying to say here? You need to be aware if you are going to stall to hit that clutch or the brake, right?
Yeah, so you don't kill it kind of thing. If you're not going to climb and you're going to stop,
Exactly.
Now, there was one point coming into Buck Island at a Revlimit Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Watching Matt at Revlimit Hill, I was like, we're just going to kind of come up on this little double ledge here. And he goes, this is something I'm just going to crawl, right? And I was like, probably not, but you could try it. And I was like, this is called Revlimit Hill. And it's named that for a reason. So he goes, okay. So he tried to crawl it and
didn't go so well.
Kind of got started getting a little bit sideways and then got you backed up. And I was like, okay, so we're going to now give it the little Moab bump, which is half throttle, half a second, and we'll see what happens. You kind of did that and kind of got off sideways again. I was like, all right, now we're kind of offline, but we can't really recorrect because there's a tree right behind you. And so I was like, just, remember how I was telling you about just spinning all 4 tires is okay. You just don't want to bounce the rig. And you're like, yeah. And I was like, do that.
So we did a little crab walk across the little bump. Yeah, across the little lip.
Yeah, got him to do a ledge walk over across the ledge to get him lined up to do a bump. And then I was like, all right, so now we're going to do a bigger bump. Half throttle, 2 seconds. And the first one he gave it, he got right up to the top and then let off. And
I got a bit scared, eh? I was like, am I going or not? And so backed off. I should have kept going.
Yeah. But he had it perfectly on. And I was like, oh, you had it. He's like, I had it. I was like, all right, back up a foot, 2 feet and do it again. And he did just the perfect amount to get up on top and then stayed in it just enough to continue traction and go. I was like, that was pretty cool to watch.
Magical feeling, I tell you what. As you just pop up, it was like, I'm doing it. I'm rock crawling in the USA.
Yeah.
What a moment.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'd like to skip ahead to talk about Big Sluice, but I don't think you're going to let me bypass when I got turtled.
Oh, yeah. That was fun. So I'm just getting Matt up and around tree line at Buck. And we're kind of like looking around and we're coming up and over. And we got Matt just walked right up. You have a really good feel for the vehicle and tire placement and what the vehicle's doing.
Oh, thanks.
And so I was like, just kind of watching and admiring you come up tree line. I was like, dude, he's got this. Like I didn't have to tell him too much. And he just kind of felt his way up and made it. And then I turn around and Jimmy's sitting there with all 4 tires spinning. Like,
Yeah.
What was going on there, Jimmy?
Oh, let me tell you.
It was like he was parked up waiting for a mate. I don't know.
Right? I was high centered, stuck right on my T case, spinning on my drive shaft.
Yeah.
And I went around tree line because that's the direction you go every single time.
That's the way I go, yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, if Tyler's going to be guiding Matt through, I'll go the way that Tyler usually goes and kind of show the line to go. And that backfired 100%.
It was actually a real boost to my confidence pulling Jimmy out, really. I sort of thought, I'm not doing too bad here.
Yeah. So we pulled the Spartan rope soft shackle hitch receivers out. Got to use that. Fantastic. Worked great. And hooked it up to a strap and what you were like low first or second gear putting.
That's the one just sort of crawled forward and you popped out.
Yeah, I didn't need a whole lot. I just needed a little bit of forward momentum, and then I grabbed my own traction and pulled myself out of there.
Yeah,
I should have gone more passenger around that big rock, and I don't ever go that way.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it.
It's a tight turn to get in there. I had to 3-point that before the wide axles.
Yeah.
I haven't tried going that way with the new wider axles yet. So.
Yeah, and I never go that way because my truck's long.
Exactly. It's hard to make that turn.
I have to do like 900-point turns there. And that backfired on me completely.
Yeah.
So I got stuck today. Doesn't happen very often.
Did we get stuck, Tyler?
No.
I think we just chugged along.
Yeah, there was a couple times we kind of got hung up, but just keep the tires spinning. It pulls you right up and over stuff.
That's it.
That's what I was trying.
That's right.
I went too far forward was my problem. And I was like, I couldn't go backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun.
It's okay, everybody. I got a couple good videos and pictures for everybody out there.
They'll be up on the grams, I'm sure. Thanks for that.
That's what friends are for.
But yeah, so going back to talking about gears and learning how to, use them to your benefit. When we were dropping down into Big Sluice, I got on the radio and I said, let the gears do the work. Go down the hill and you don't need the brake. Put it in, the medium, low gear and first gear and just let it idle.
Yeah.
And so you came back on the mic and what'd you say? Do you remember?
It's a blur. It was a day full of excitement, so I cannot remember what I said.
Yeah, you said something to the extent of, wow, this is really interesting, just letting the machine do the work.
That's right. Yeah, no, I remember now. Yeah, very different to what I'm used to. Like having those low gears. I mean, it's such a sense of security, right?
Yeah,
totally.
And it's interesting because when you let the machine do the work, you don't have to brake. You don't have to continue to hit the accelerator. You don't have to concern yourself about some of those things because the machine is slowing you down. The machine's keeping you at a decent pace. And really all now you have to do is make sure that you're in the track
Yeah.
and you're continuing on.
Yeah.
And it works out well. So it's interesting. I forgot who it was Samurai James you were talking to?
Yeah.
Somebody you
Yep.
were talking to this same thing about why are you braking on the downhill? Like
Yeah.
let the gear do it.
Yeah, I
Let
was
the gears
walking
downhill.
his first trip, I think, ever rock crawling, Samurai James. I brought him out on the Rubicon.
Yeah.
And I was behind him at some point. His brake lights kept coming on. I was like, why do you keep hitting your brakes? I was like, you have a 6-to-1 transfer case in there. Let the gears do the work.
Yeah.
Just let the rig work. And ever since then, he was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And now he's in a full big ass buggy.
Yeah, Jesse Haynes
Yeah.
built buggy. Good for him.
Yeah.
So, well, excellent. Yeah, so we bombed down Old Sluice, no problems.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny seeing you guys go through where the squeeze tree used to be, and now, but you're so freaking wide that you've got the squeeze rocks.
Yeah.
I still fit between that, no problem. But
Yep.
both your rear tires were just climbing the rock to get around.
It was
through
pretty
that
cool.
section.
I had him a little bit more driver's side going through there.
Yeah,
And I, at some point when the rear end was coming through, I was like, stop right there. And you're like, what? And I was like, turn around, put you out the window, look at your rear tire. And you just it's like way up 5 feet in the air. It was cool climbing over that rock.
yeah.
Yeah, great articulation there. I sort of looked behind me. He was looking right at me. And I was like, how to get up there?
Yeah.
It was in the back seat. Yeah. So we went down that. You drove down Property Line, which is a pretty gnarly little section.
Without
as well.
really any spotting.
Yeah.
At that point, you kind of come down the bottom of Big Sluice where a scout hole is.
Yeah.
I think it is. And I was like, it's too wet here. Let me jump in. I'm getting cold too. So I jumped in and just kind of hung out in the rig the rest of the time. I didn't give him that much instruction. For the most part, he was like, do I go here and here? I was like, yeah, it seems like good spots to put your tires. And then he did it all and worked his way down Property Line pretty
Sweet.
much on his own.
Yeah, sort of slow and steady. It was definitely, it was a great experience to sort of try find my own lines and stuff. It was kind of good growing in confidence. So yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Then we got down to the Springs.
Uh-huh.
Got to introduce them to the chaos and debauchery that can go on down there,
Yep.
even though there wasn't a single soul down there
Nope.
for us today. Even the shack is all locked up for the season, and the caretakers are gone for the winter. And
Yep.
but we walked around, saw the bar, we saw the Soda Springs, both of them. We saw where the hotel used to go, the high water line.
Mm-hmm.
We went over to the 7 mile marker and got a photo of that, and ate some food there.
Yep.
Had a quick snack, and it's just a kind of wild to see, like, out in the middle of nowhere, there's this like oasis.
Yeah, it's amazing the history of this trail. I mean, as we were going along, Tyler and Jimmy sort of telling me about the different areas and seeing that sort of Rubicon Springs area. I mean, it's stunning. There's old pumps around. There's the springs bubbling away. I mean, it's truly a magical place.
Yeah. What did you think of a hotel used to be down there, like a whole hotel, and people would go there as like a resort retreat kind of thing?
What's crazy? Like, what were they doing? Did they have 35s, 37s back then? Like, how do they get down there? I had so many questions. It just seems such a random place to have one. But hey, I mean, it would have been pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to go listen to episode 220, History of the Rubicon.
There we go. That's my next, my homework.
On the way home.
Yeah, on his way down to Mexico.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
True.
Oh, man. So, yeah, he got to drive pretty much from the bottom of Indian Trail all the way out up here to observation. I took over for a little bit going through the springs, kind of the boring area.
Yeah.
So that he can kind of look and admire everything around the springs that's going on. What'd you think of coming up Cadillac and getting up here to observation?
It got a bit hairy on Cadillac. I was thinking some of the angles were going on. In fact, I think Tyler was more nervous than I was, though. He was in the passenger seat. He was looking down the slope, and I'm there, first time rock crawling, swinging his rig around. So thank you, Tyler, for your
I don't think I've
patience
ever
there.
ridden in a rig on the passenger, on the downhill side of going up Cadillac with somebody else in control of the vehicle before. And I was like, I know everything's going to be okay, but it's still just looking down there. I don't, that's not cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting angle for sure, because it's, if you roll, you're rolling for a while till you hit a tree and stop.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a little, what is it, precarious? Is that a good word for
That's
it?
it. That was definitely it.
Yeah. So it's definitely a fun spot. We stopped and saw the LaSalle and showed you the car that the Cadillac's named after, the Cadillac Hill's named after, which is shambles. It's barely a car anymore.
Yeah, it was pretty cool just seeing it. I tucked away by the side of the track, no like signposts or anything. Just sitting there, somewhat complete. Like you can still see the whole chassis, the guards. It's something to see.
Yeah. And then we wheel up Cadillac and we get to where we're sitting right now, which we have like maybe 15 minutes more sunlight till it goes away. But look at this view, huh?
It's definitely something. It's pretty special being here, being in America with some new mates, driving cool rigs. I mean, it's a place to be.
Yeah, it's kind of like the gem. You kind of come out of the manzanita bushes there, coming up to the top, and you're like, oh my God, this is just amazing.
Yeah.
Up here, the gem at the end of the trip. I don't know if I've been up here before with those mountains over there, snow-capped.
Yeah, I know, it's absolutely gorgeous right now.
Yeah.
You guys are very blessed to live here. I mean, like right on your doorstep, like close to Sacramento. It's stunning.
Yeah, we're spoiled. Definitely.
Truth. Very true.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know, Matt, after this experience and your travels and everything, I mean, mainly I want to refer back to this experience, though. Are you going to take any drastic four-wheel drive knowledge back to New Zealand and teach some friends actually how to rock crawl?
Yeah, I think reduction gear is a game changer. I mean, not many people are rocking them back in New Zealand, so I think that word needs to be spread. And I'm not sure about the old aesthetic of these trucks. I mean, they're pretty rough and ready, but maybe I can get a Snail Trail sticker or something to advertise back home. It's a cool brand. These guys do amazing stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think gearing's a game changer. I think it definitely is almost a cheating level on some things. Like trying to do this with like stock gears, stock transmissions, stock diffs.
Oh, I'd hate to see it.
It would be
burn out your clutch around Buck.
Oh my, it's before Buck. A Walker.
Yeah.
And I have. Yeah, and I'm the same way. I really like having control and having better gears. And with my 3rd gen Tacoma, I'm like was wheeling some fire roads and was getting frustrated because I didn't have the gearing, and I went out and bought reduction gears just for that.
Yeah,
I need to put them in still, but that's a definite game changer. So I think there's gonna be some rock crawling trails. I think in New Zealand here in the next few years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, watch the space.
I guess Tyler and I are going to need to go back and have another visit.
Yeah.
And go to Spikes.
Spates.
So
close.
So close. It's the same logo as Heineken, so it's not sold in America. It's the 3-star sort of thing. There's a branding thing that goes on, so they're not allowed to sell to America.
Gotcha.
That's what I learned.
There you go.
Yeah. So excellent. Well, thanks for joining us. Do you have any fine words for the listeners out there about the trail or about New Zealand or whatever?
Oh, good question. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you guys for taking me out. It's been a real privilege to be here in such a beautiful country. I guess to the listeners, just make the most of what you got. You guys got an amazing place to explore. You've got great rigs. Make the most of it. Get out there and enjoy yourselves.
What's the rest of your trip look like here in the States?
So soon I'm heading down to San Diego, spending a couple of days kicking around there, and then
lots of good breweries in San Diego.
Oh yeah. So that'll be a good time. And then walking across the border, doing a bit of exploring in Mexico.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure what I've got planned. Sort of see how you go kind of vibe. So hopefully just stay safe and have a good time.
Cool. Carry your rape whistle with you. Or
That's some bear spray or something. Thanks, Tyler.
Well, cool, man. I'm really glad that we got connected for this trip. I wasn't quite sure what was going to come of this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what kind of dude are we picking up and taking up
Mystery
to the
box.
trails? Yeah. But it was rad. You have a good knowledge of vehicles and how vehicles are put together and how they work. So that helped a lot. You immediately were like, oh, this is rad. You have this and you got this set up. And I was like, okay, this dude's a gearhead. We'll be fine all day.
Yeah.
So it was an awesome day. I'm glad we got connected. Glad to make a new friend out on the trail and show somebody this awesome country we have up here in the Sierras. So
For sure. Thanks, guys.
Any final word? Let's do final words.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Let's
One
do
of my
it.
favorite parts of the show. We'll do Jimmy first because he's used to it. I put him on the spot. So Jimmy, final words for everybody out there, all the listeners.
Thank you, 1st Gen Mike, for helping me finish my truck.
Oh, did he come over?
Yes.
Nice. Matt, any final words for everybody out there?
This can be anything.
Anything. You could just be like, I like spaghetti. And that's it.
Well, I mean, that wasn't on the top of my list of things to say, but I want to do a little shout out to all my friends in New Zealand.
Nice.
Hope you guys are doing well. Definitely come over to the four-wheel drive scene in America. Check it out. It's pretty cool.
And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
What do you get from a pampered cow?
I don't remember.
Oh, shoot. It's like a riddle. What is it?
Yeah, I've told Tyler this joke.
You
That's
told me
what's
this
hilarious.
like 3 days ago, and I don't remember. Yeah.
A pampered cow.
A pampered cow.
Spoiled milk.
I kept wanting to say soy
gosh.
milk. I was like, that's not right.
Very good.
That's a cow that only eats edamame.
That's soy milk. Yeah, soy milk.